don't mind me. I'm just having a little listen out there. Right before we started recording, there's some dude outside and he's singing Personal Jesus by Depeche Mode, right?
Banger.
And yeah, great song, love it. But I'm like, at first I'm just like, oh, he's just singing along. But then I'm listening and it's like, it's a backing track. This dude's doing full on karaoke in his garden, right? It must be a dude in his garden because there's no bars around here or anything like that. And if there are, who's doing karaoke at fucking lunchtime, right? So then Personal Jesus finishes. And then it's just another song. It's, you know, one of their lesser known like album tracks or whatever. And it's the backing track for that as well. Like, where do you even get the fucking backing track to a whole Depeche Mode album? This dude is invested, George, but I don't think we can hear him. Not that it wasn't good, which it wasn't, but I think we're good.
Well, I kind of want to
Anyway,
hear it now.
hello.
Hello. Welcome
Speaking
to
of my own personal Jesus, it's nice to see you, George.
Oh, thank you very much. Nice to see you too.
Yeah, it's nice. I'll tell you what else is nice. We're going to jump straight into some stories because we've got a few things going on. All right.
Oh, yeah. A few bits.
And we talked a little bit, actually a reasonable amount, about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles last week. And they're turtling on, man. Turtle power is in full force, right? Because it was this story came out about 4 or 5 days ago that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise passed $1 billion in global revenue since 2009, which is when they were bought by or taken over by Paramount, who now run the IP. And that's not including the new movie that we reviewed. Go and check that out last week, or check it out now, but we did it last week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
right. So this is insane because a lot of things are struggling now. You know, not everything's, especially the big IP stuff, isn't hitting as much as it normally does. And there's everything you can think of has got Ninja Turtles on it. So that whatever they're doing over at Paramount, they're doing it right. You seeing a lot of this stuff? You feel like Turtle Power is coming back into the forefront, or are you not? You're not seeing this?
I haven't really noticed, to be honest. I mean, I think it's always been fairly prominent, but yeah, I'm not really paying attention that much, I guess.
Mate, because I had a little sense of it. I felt like, you know, they're kind of, you know, bubbling away there, but they've had licenses. Listen to this: Playmates, Hasbro, Mattel, Crayola, Funko, Crocs. You can buy Ninja Turtles Crocs, George. They'll go nice with your collection. Walmart, Target, Amazon, Primark, Smiths. They're doing stuff with Pizza Hut. Xbox, you can buy pizza scented controllers for your Xbox if that's your thing. Who wants to? Like, if you're a gamer,
and sweat and pizza scent.
This is what I'm saying. If you're a gamer, it's already an uphill battle to have your controller not stink of fucking, you know, crumbs and fucking fizzy drinks and shit. And now they're just selling it already. It's like when they started selling jeans in the 70s with the rips already in there. You know what I mean? And now you can just buy an Xbox controller that already stinks of fucking cheese.
Lovely.
So that's good for them. You know, they got stuff with Minecraft, Fruit Ninja. That makes sense. I didn't know Fruit Ninja was still a thing, but man, I will download that to play if I can play Ninja Turtles Fruit Ninja.
Never played it.
You never played Fruit Ninja?
I'm oblivious.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to. Fruit flies at the screen, and you just have to, like, you know,
swipe it,
slice the fruit, or whatever. Anyway, it's exciting stuff. And you know, with all the studios and all the stuff that's going on, pay everyone, do everything that they ask, and do a little bit more on top. I'm going to say this every fucking week, okay? Because we're talking about all this stuff, right? And a lot of people don't really want to talk about some of this stuff. But I just want to explain that we're talking about this stuff because for us, not for them, okay? It's all about us, really, all of this stuff. But yeah, Paramount are fucking just really kind of coming under the radar with the Turtles here, and they're just full force, you know, really, really doing well with that. So that's good to see. You go on YouTube, everyone. You're here right now. Don't go away, but you can go on the official Turtles channel and you can watch the first 2 seasons of the original animated series for fucking nothing. So we all know what we're doing after this. If you haven't done already, you know, just good stuff. And it's great marketing as well because they're because then after they just announced a few days ago that they're launching it on the Paramount Plus streaming service. So then presumably they'll yank it out for the YouTube and then it will drive you over there in theory to go and watch the rest of it. So I don't know. It's kind of wholesome to see the Turtles. You know, they're still strong in a world of, you know, Fortnite and TikTok, and they're still hanging in there. So I just thought that was really interesting to talk about. Paramount, by the way, apparently one of the studios they are trying to play ball, but it's the other ones that aren't getting along. Looking at you, Netflix. What's that?
No, I don't have much to add other than besides like Marvel and DC, like there's nothing really like new, and even those are all older characters, of course, but like there's nothing like new for kids that I've sort of caught on or seen that's blown up in the last like decade or 20 years even. Like it's all just reboots of older characters, but yeah, it is nice to see the Turtles like still going strong, and
you know, because they're just 4 dudes who look the same. You know, it's pretty basic when you think about it, you know, and they haven't done anything where we're like, you know, we're putting them in big robot turtle suits, or, you know, they've for all the iterations they've kept it pretty, you know, stuck to the basics, and it's just nice. It just gives you a little bit of faith in this business that's chewing everything up and spitting it out. So
you watch now. You said that. No, there's going to be a fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Transformers fucking matchup. To be fair, that might not be so bad. But
I would watch that crossover.
Yeah,
I mean, different companies. Do you think one's was the Transformers? What are they? Hasbro. So and
is it owned by Fox though? I don't know.
No, what studio's doing the Transformers? Is it Universal? Maybe. Anyway, they're crossing over with G.I. Joe, so maybe Turtles drop them in down the line. You know, I'd love to watch Donatello kick Snake Eye's ass or something. So that's fun. But go on.
No, that's nothing. I have nothing to add.
Okay. But if you want to see people crossing over and kicking ass, just wanted to throw this in real quick. We got Wolverine taking on the Predator, everyone, in a comic book, which some of you might see as a lesser medium, but it's not. Go support your local comic book store. Check out this Wolverine Predator. I'm definitely going to be checking this out. I might even buy this like in physical. I might just buy the issues week to week when it starts, which I do very rarely now. Even though I just said support your local comic book stores, but I don't have a local comic book store. So what are you going to do, right? If you have one, go check it out, everyone. Absolutely. You feeling like that you want to read some Wolverine versus Predator? Who you got in that fight?
I'd say, I mean, I'd go Predator, but like, I'd check it out. I know very little about it, to be honest. Who's writing it? Is there anyone you're familiar with?
I'm familiar with called Benjamin Percy. Done, you know, a lot of indie stuff or stuff for like IDW, which is the comic company that the Turtles fall under at the moment. Right. A guy called Greg Land is on art. He's done bigger stuff. He's done like Hulk and some DC, and you know, everyone's kind of done everything at this point, you know. So that's fun. So yeah, looking forward to that. I don't actually have the release date here, but it's coming soon, everyone. And by the way, Wolverine wins because Predator ain't healing from shit. Predator got beaten by Danny Glover.
Oh fuck.
Sorry, Danny.
I mean, yeah, he gets a bad. I mean, in theory, he should be fucking shit up all the way. But
who, Danny Glover?
I
You
guess
mean?
Yeah, Danny G.
Danny G.
But yeah, I guess Wolverine does have his healing abilities and whatnot. I don't know. I think Predator's cooler.
The premise for this is actually pretty cool as well, because it's described as like a multi-generational ongoing battle. So I think what's going to be happening is, because Wolverine's old as time itself almost. So I think the Predator's going to come back to Earth at different points in time, and they're going to have like this ongoing feud. So maybe Wolverine fights the Predator in like World War II, and then he fights him again in the 70s, and then they're going to kind of go through the decades up until modern day. So that could be really cool.
Sounds interesting.
Story-wise and visually, that'll keep it fresh. So it's not just going to be like 4 or 6 issues of just schnicky schnick, blasty blast. There's going to be some variety, hopefully. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, nice.
And I was looking forward to, I don't know if you heard about this, but a few years ago, little guy, I don't think he's little, but a director called Neil Blomkamp. You know who this is, right, George?
Of course.
District 9, Elysium, Chappie. Some might say he's been a bit of a one-hit wonder. He might be touch and go. He just had Gran Turismo come out, which apparently is really good. I'm hearing it's like Rocky, but with cars. So that's fun. So he's doing an interview. I've got this interview here because this is really fun. I don't know if you check this out.
I didn't actually. I didn't read the interview. I just saw like headlines. Yeah.
Right. So he was. Yeah. So a few years ago, Neil Blomkamp was signed on to do an Alien movie that was apparently going to retcon Alien 3 and 4, and it was going to take place after Alien 2. This was just after Prometheus had come out and kind of had mixed response, right? So then the story goes is that Neil Blomkamp was gearing up to do Alien. He was releasing concept art. He was writing the script. And then Ridley Scott caught wind of this. And he's like, oh, no, you fucking don't. I'm going to do another Alien movie. And just yanked it right out from Blomkamp's feet. And we got Alien Covenant, which some might say I'd rather we didn't have Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, he got robbed. Then he was announced to do a RoboCop movie that also then got the plug pulled on it, much like Murphy himself, yunk, right? So then he's promoting Gran Turismo, and he's doing an interview with Uproxx, and they said, you were going to do Alien at one point, and then Disney decided to go in a different direction. Neil Blomkamp says, it's hard to define how little I care about what happens to Alien. So I guess I don't want to talk about that either.
He's so done.
I want to talk about Gran Turismo, or we don't talk at all. Let's just focus on Gran Turismo.
Back to the task at hand.
Back to the task at hand, indeed. This poor interviewer is just like, okay, I mean, I don't know what happened here. To which Neil Blomkamp says, well, we were talking about Gran Turismo, which was interesting, and now we're not. It goes on like this. I'm just like the alien queen herself. The claws are fucking out. I don't know. What do you think about it? Do you think he's right to take this attitude? Do you think this sounds a little bit?
I think maybe they just caught him on a bad day. But yeah, I'm guessing a lot of people have been clamoring and just bugging him about it. And yeah, he probably is a bit salty because I'm guessing at one point he was very much invested in this project, and who wouldn't be? Like, that's a great title, a lot of fun to work with, I imagine. But yeah, a bit salty, a bit hasty, maybe, a bit unnecessary. but I don't know.
A little bit. I mean, it's by the by. Like anytime you do press for a movie, they're going to ask about other movies you've done, other movies you might do. It's kind of expected.
Yeah.
We're not like some fascistic news outlet where it's just like we only talk about Gran Turismo for 4 hours straight and nothing else.
I guess that is the press. When you're doing press for what you perceive as your latest project, then that's what you're going to want to talk about. But yeah, you've got to be open to the possibility of other questions and other projects that you might have been attached to.
It's not like people are talking shit on Gran Turismo and they're like, oh, fuck this movie, give me the Alien that you were going to do. Like, people were loving Gran Turismo. This could really be, like I say, he had a couple of like what people would call missteps after District 9, and he's following movies after that. But people are loving Gran Turismo. So this could be a real, meaty injection into his career for, which could open up opportunities. And now if I'm a studio exec and I'm sitting there and I see this interview, I'm like, well, fuck this guy. He's going to come and talk about our shit, like, and bitch about us, like, or not bitch about us, or, just gives a bad look. I don't know. I was really excited for that Alien movie. I was more excited for his RoboCop, to be honest, because it was going to be RoboCop Returns. They were going to bring back Peter Weller. So I don't know what's happening with that. I might go and see Gran Turismo if there's nothing else new coming out for the next week or so, because I am intrigued.
Yeah, I'm not a big car movie guy myself, but I'd watch it.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
I'll probably end up waiting for streaming.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But speaking of RoboCop, fucking, I don't know. I've lost it. Don't worry.
He had the perfect.
I'm very tired.
That District 9 tone would have been perfect for RoboCop. And maybe he saw Alien Covenant. He was like, this is bullshit. I would have done much better than that. How come
probably
mine don't get made? But because it's Ridley Scott, because everyone loved Gods of Egypt or whatever it was, and they still fucking give it back to him, just he waltzes right in, So I see both sides to this, but maybe, it's not the interviewer's fault. When you sign up to do a big property like that, like you said, it's a dream. It's probably a dream of yours when you're a young filmmaker to one day maybe be able to do your own take on one of these things that you grew up with. So I get the frustration, but come on, Neil, man. Lighten up.
Can you fly, Blommy?
Maybe he will. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, that fucking interviewer probably just flew right out the fucking window as well. So,
God, that must be so fucking awkward.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm interested to see what he does next. Gran Turismo isn't exactly killing it at the box office, but not a lot is really, unless you're Barbie, which is coming back to theaters in IMAX now with an extra deleted scene. So, and that's like already at like the 1.3 billion mark, but everything else is basically just eating shit. So, but even so, see what he does next. Another director who's doing something big next, who's had some alliances with some big properties and, to varying degrees of success. But we got Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon. They dropped a teaser trailer for this bad boy. Some would say eagerly anticipated. Some would say they couldn't give two shits. He's a kind of a divisive filmmaker. Especially the last few years, you got the Snyder Cut bros, and there's a lot of baggage here. But he wanted to do a Star Wars movie, right? When Disney, around, I think it was 2012, Disney buys Star Wars. And I think Zack Snyder was one of the first people to go in there with a pitch. And it didn't work out. I mean, let's face it, has anything with Star Wars really worked out? since then. That's another topic for another day, perhaps. So then he's like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to take my script and I'm just going to, it's just rebels and empires in space, and I'm just going to do my own thing and call it Rebel Moon. So anyway, this teaser trailer is nearly 4 fucking minutes long, George. You just watched it. What are your first thoughts?
Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, I haven't discussed it on this podcast or whatever. But I'm not the biggest Star Wars mark. I haven't kept up with, the releases post fucking 2000 really. I actually went to see fucking Rogue One with you.
That sounds like it might have been a thing.
I went to the midnight screening. I said I'm not a Star Wars guy. I just remember being like, oh yeah, let's go on. We'll check it out. It was all right, and then I kind of just fell off. But when it comes to Zack Snyder, some people refer to him as Hack Snyder. Bit harsh, I'd say. But I'm not. I like Watchmen. Dawn of the Dead is one of the better horror remakes, I'd say. But yeah, as far as the trailer's concerned, I was like, oh, yeah, it's interesting. Got some giant birds, Charlie Hunnam.
Giant birds
up in there.
Charlie Hunnam
didn't really.
All looks good.
Yeah.
You've got to be careful, man. I've got to be careful, because if you say you're a Zack Snyder fan, people just assume that you was one of these people that was making 10,000 fake accounts and spamming tweets, about the Justice League. That wasn't me, but I do like Zack Snyder quite a bit. I like Dawn of the Dead. I really love his Watchmen adaptation, especially the director's cut. I thought that was really good adaptation for what you could do as far as a movie version, because the comic book obviously is built on 70 years of comic book history, as a medium. It's very dense. I thought what he did with that was really cool. I love his Owl movie. Have you seen the Owl movie, George?
No, I haven't.
You heard of it?
I've heard good things, but I've not seen it.
That's a dark kids movie. It's like it's like Game of Thrones, but with owls, with cartoon owls. They're wearing they've got fucking clans and governments and different factions of owls. They're wearing suits of armor and they're all flying into battle. It's pretty epic stuff. People die, people love, people laugh.
You mean owls die? Owls.
Well, owls are people too, George.
Are they?
At least in this universe where they talk.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right. They've got personality. You get invested. To me, they were just like my brothers and sisters. I don't, not exactly the same, but near enough. Anyway, so Rebel Moon. It literally does look like Star Wars meets Dune, which is fine. It's Star Wars, but it's shot like Dune. It's taken itself quite seriously. Got a lot of sincerity to it, which is missing, I feel, in a lot of movies. Which is a point I'm going to touch on later when we talk about our main topic here of the week. Sophie Boutella, I really love her. She hasn't been in much, and I'm not 100% convinced that she's ready to lead a franchise with, especially with as high stakes as this, both for Zack Snyder and Netflix. This does not look like a cheap movie. And it's also at the end of this trailer, it's 2 parts, and it's is this a trailer for both parts, or is this a trailer for just the first part? Do you know what I mean?
I guess it's just the first part. Right.
That was a little bit vague. Got giant robot alien spiders. I'm always down for giant robot alien spiders. I think there's not enough giant robot alien spiders in movies or anything. Not to sound like John Peters or anything, with his Superman Lives stuff. if you're interested in hearing that story, Kevin Smith does a whole thing on that on one of his evening with Kevin Smith shows, which I think you can get those on Amazon now or whatever. Or you can. There's a fantastic documentary if you want to hear about the whole production or failed production of the that Superman movie, where he was gonna, in case you don't know, Superman was gonna fight a giant robot alien spider, and quite sadly never happened. But there's a fantastic documentary called The Death of Superman Lives: What Happened, directed by late great John Schnepp, who you might recognize that name because he did all the character designs for the Metalocalypse TV show.
Yeah,
I believe he worked on that a bunch in the early days. Anyway, go check that out. Giant robot alien spiders, everyone. All about it. And if you want a disappointing version of that, then maybe there's a little reference to it in The Flash, but I wouldn't recommend it. But I'm going to be watching this. Netflix is going to be like 3 hours long. I can watch it at home. I kind of hope this was in theaters, really, but maybe there will be a limited release. I'm not sure. But I think they'd be insane if they didn't, because, like I said, Zack Snyder does have a very specific, very fervent fan base. So I think you could definitely get some bucks out of this if you pull it on some screens, you know.
For sure, his film style definitely lends to the big screen, and
it's a beautiful looking trailer. It's
definitely
a fantastic looking,
short of action.
And all his stuff has that.
Yeah.
Apart from Army of the Dead, I don't know if you saw that.
No, I did not.
His zombie movie. I was really hyped for that, and not a lot of zombies in that movie.
No, that's why I heard some. I don't normally go by reviews. I normally try to catch things and make my own mind up about it. But for whatever reason, I was steered away from that. Maybe I'll get around to it, but
yeah, we'll get there. Coming soon on a future episode of the Pop Rose podcast.
When we run out of zombie films to talk about.
When we run out of zombie films, we're going to start talking about zombie films with no zombie films. Just films is what we call them. It's just cinema, you know. Anyway, talking about pure cinema, George. Pure cinema is coming back for the 4th time with the Expendables 4. Not my favourite franchise. I saw the first 2. I do believe I missed the 3rd one, which was derided for going PG-13. Lost all of the bite that the first 2 did have, which wasn't, they weren't super edgy. But they weren't, as like glossy as something like the Meg, to use another like Statham example. So we get this trailer and it opens up and it's like Discount Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Megan Fox, who I really like, by the way. I think she's had a really shit deal from the media and in Hollywood in her career. I think when you put her in the right role, she's really effective. I think Jennifer's Body is such an underrated like modern horror movie. Really dig that. Amanda Seyfried is fantastic. The Diablo's Cody script. I thought it was really punchy, really ahead of its time. So I love her. But what are we doing here? Like, because he just shows up, honey, I'm home, and then we start fighting. And then Sylvester Stallone shows up. He's like, I've got a mission, and we're going to go on a mission. So that wasn't a mission. They just live together, and they're married or whatever. And they just fight every day, like just smash through coffee tables and just throw each other around. I mean, I don't want to kink shame, okay, but that seems a little excessive. I'm not quite sure why we're doing that, other than to just say, we've got women in the Expendables, everyone. It's not just dudes, which it shouldn't be just dudes, because, women are expendable too. We're all expendable, all right? At the end of the day, I don't want to get too deep. But then I thought the action, as this kind of went on, dialogue was pretty bad. I thought the action was pretty good. I did think this looked more like the first one than it did the other ones. Dolph Lundgren's looking like Jane Lynch. I don't know what's going on with that hair.
He looks like Jane Lynch crossed with Owen Wilson.
Yes, exactly. Wow. I don't know. Where do you stand on this? Do you give a shit about this at all?
Not really, man.
No,
I'm totally honest. You watched more than I did. I watched the first one, and I was just like, yeah. This is every action fan's like, big pile up, fucking big name action hero extravaganza, and it was entertaining. But looking at the trailer, they fucking really playing on this rated R thing, right?
Well, yeah, they're leaning into it hard because the biggest complaint from the last one was that it wasn't R. So I guess we want to make that known.
They've even went there with like posting fucking quotes of tweets, I'm guessing. Unless they were actually like, I didn't recognize that. It just looked like tweets that was like, I want more blood and guts in the trailer. I was like, okay. And they did the thing weird, that you were talking about with the A is a 4 in the title.
Perfect.
Notice that.
I love that. It's one of the worst trends in movies ever, but I love it. I
get 4 almost looks like an A, but I didn't really. The font, like, it just looked cheap.
Oh yeah, it looked like PowerPoint fucking font, right? With the like the fake looking 3D shiny letters there coming up.
Yeah.
I'm just looking up the release date for this because
I didn't catch it.
It's next month. It's 22nd of September. At least that's the UK release date.
Right.
So this could do quite well. I think there's obviously a fan base for all these actors that are in this movie. We've got Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent. Is that what we kids calling him? I don't know.
Curtis.
I mean, who am I kidding? The kids aren't listening to 50 Cent anymore, right? They're listening to, I don't know,
dude.
Little Nas X or is that still a person? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think this could do well. There's not a great deal out. We kind of start getting into more like dramas and horrors is what we're going to be getting for the next few months. Anything, because all the major tentpole stuff is getting pushed. Dune just got pushed to next year. I'd be surprised if they announced like yesterday. I could have put that on the notes actually, but it made its way here anyway. So Dune's getting pushed now till like March because you've got some of the biggest stars in the world in that movie. It obviously cost a lot of money. That you want Chalamet, you want Zendaya, you want you Dave Bautista, and all of these people. You want those on the the talk show circuit and all of that kind of stuff, right? Because you want to get that investment back. The first one got fucked with the pandemic. I mean, we all did, but I think doing the first one could have easily made like 700-800 million. I think it scraped to like 400. They did because they released it on HBO Max at the same time, which Warner Bros did for all of their movies during the pandemic, which probably wasn't the best decision in hindsight. That's fine. So I think Expendables 4 could do quite well. I'm going to be following the box. If I don't see it, which I probably won't, I will at least be following the box office because I'm interested to see how much weight those dudes and that franchise is going to carry. Anyway.
Speaking of, I mean, looked like a lot of CGI blood in there.
Yeah.
Jason Statham, you almost fucking killed me. Fucking.
Yeah.
I can't do Statham voice.
It is what it is. It's fine. But to go on a completely opposite end of the spectrum here, we got these. You want real blood. If you want real violence, if you want real pain and real misery.
And
Because
just
who
mad
doesn't
shit.
want those things? Because they don't exist in the real world. There's no pain, there's no misery anywhere, ever. Right?
Yeah, it needs to be reminded.
You need to be reminded. You need to be, brought back down to earth, all the way down to Australia, down under. And we talk about beaten to death. I'd never heard of this movie until I saw an article like 3 days ago. It said new controversial extreme gore fest horror movie, yada yada yada, beaten to death. It's like I can't wait to share this with my favorite, sad, miserable, gory, gloomy friend here, George. You watch this I made him laugh. It's fine, no gloom here on the Pop Rose podcast. If you agree, go click that like, go click that sub, leave a comment, tell us what you think about some of these topics, tell us what you want to see us talk about maybe in the next week's episode. But while you're doing that, George is going to tell you what he thought about the Beaten to Death trailer.
Yeah, looks interesting. I mean, well, we'll get into a bit of Ozploitation, as they refer to it, but
clever, it's witty.
Oh, I didn't come up with it, but but yeah, it looks brutal, mate. Fucking
yeah.
The only thing I would say is it looks like it showed. It doesn't lead to too much to the imagination. It looks some sort of drug deals going on. You see this fella's beaten the absolute shit out of, and he finds his dead wife there.
Yeah, the titular beaten to death, I presume.
I'm
sure she has a name.
Presume.
Or had.
Yeah, Australia are fucking, they're known for violence and doing it well. But
they love it, yeah. Considering, they don't just let anyone into their country, they're pretty tight on the immigration, but apparently you can just be a violent murderer's maniac and that's fine. This went straight into it. He's just fucking coughing up blood and shit all over the floor. Glass bottles are getting stuck in heads and necks and all of this kind of stuff. We don't get a lot of context for why this stuff is happening. I feel like maybe, just a little bit more story in this trailer might have given, contextualized the violence a little bit more.
You say that. I was just saying, I only see you see some sort of packages of powder that I'd have to assume is drugs. So I'm guessing throughout the course of the film, the backstory gets revealed. But it's very much seems to be like the trailer's selling it on the violence and suspense alone. But yeah, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like it's very much. It kind of almost had like a more extreme like Straw Dogs kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Straw Dogs?
Yeah,
if you haven't, I didn't recommend it. I just mentioned it. Okay. If you want an interesting piece of cinematic history with Dustin Hoffman playing an unhinged, maybe he's a lunatic, maybe he's not. It's a tough watch. Okay, but this very much kind of reminded me a little bit of that. But here's the thing: this is what I want to ask. Where's the controversy here? Like blood, guts, stabbing, cutting, shooting, strangling. What is that really controversial? Like, have we not hit the peak in cinema of what you can do that could be classed as controversial? I didn't really see anything that I haven't seen before in this trailer.
Yeah, not really. I mean, it's just straight to it. I guess that's what the.
Yeah, I think that's more the because it's just how like unrelenting and like unapologetic. It was just like getting straight into it. But then are we just relying on that to sell this movie? And that's why we're not getting any story in here, and we're just purely relying on the gore and the violence, which, don't get me wrong, looks great as far as like, effects wise, and as great as like violence and gore can look. No CGI blood here. But we've seen everything, George. You can eat a live octopus, murder a whole room full of dudes with a claw hammer, and then fuck your own daughter in a movie. You can do whatever you want. I'm not saying you should do those things, but
definitely not.
There's a lot of gnarly shit in the world, both on screen and off screen. So maybe there's more in the movie than what we see in the trailer, and if there is, fucking God help us all. Anyway, I'm gonna go check this out. I'm sure you are.
Yeah. But as far as controversy, like I think that it's just one of those headline keywords, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like controversial.
Is it? Yeah, and it doesn't seem like a wholly empty threat.
Sure.
They're definitely bringing the pain to back it up. But how much pain they bring, I guess we'll find out when that movie drops. But as you were saying, they love their violence and their small, independent, disgusting, fucking horrible fucking films in Australia. So
they do indeed.
So George might have some recommendations if that's your thing.
I do have a few. I mean, I was just as soon as I looked at this trailer, I was reminded of a little documentary called Not Quite Hollywood, which is I've got some info on it somewhere.
Aussie that's what they should call it.
Aussie Wood.
There you go. Pioneering new terms here on the Pop Rose podcast, everybody.
But if you haven't seen that doc, I'd highly recommend it. It's fucking it's just Quentin Tarantino's on it. There's a bunch of filmmakers, but that's one thing like say about Australia, like there's some challenging filmmakers like Rolf de Heer. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation, but he's like Dutch Australian filmmaker. He made a film called Bad Boy Bubby. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
I do not believe I'm familiar with old Bad Boy Bubby there.
Fucking hell. Yeah, that is a challenging watch to say the least, but it's also I'd recommend it definitely at least a one-time watch. It's basically about a mentally challenged fella who's been kept in by his like God-fearing mother in this like it's almost more like it looks like an industrial unit. His home, there's like no windows or anything. It's just, but yeah, he's like been kept in his whole life. He's like 30, in his mid 30s, and his mother keeps him in by telling him that the outdoors is just full of like toxic fumes or whatever. And every time she leaves the house, she puts on a gas mask.
Women are the devil.
Man,
get that quote.
I did not catch it.
Go on.
Leave it in. But yeah, anyway, long story short, like he gets out and then he goes on a fucking journey, and he somehow joins a band, ends up in a band, and it's kind of like a punk band, but there's some very disturbing, very challenging concepts there within. But yeah, there's plenty, no short of like interesting filmmakers come out of Australia. Another one, Philip Mora, who directed the sequels to the Howling werewolf film, which are fucking batshit insane.
Yeah, not enough good werewolf movies. Just throwing that out there. We'll talk about that another time. Carry on.
This guy is also the Howling 2 has Christopher Lee in it.
Ooh.
And this guy, Philip Mora, directed a documentary which I really want to see. It's called Dracula Nazi Hunter: How I Learned to Love Christopher Lee and Drink Atomic Bombs. There's a Howling 2. I have the Arrow like Blu-ray release, and there's like a doc interview with the director Philip Mora, And he talks out they filmed that film in Prague, and when they arrived, or Christopher Lee arrived, there was like a welcoming committee, military like honor committee there for him, because I don't know if you know this. Christopher Lee worked for the British Secret Service during World War II.
Yeah, I've heard some of these stories.
Mental.
I know the story where when they filmed his death for Lord of the Rings, spoiler alert. But and Peter Jackson told him to imagine what a man would sound like having a spear stuck through his heart or something along those lines. And Christopher Lee responded, I don't need to imagine what that sounds like. Funnily enough, that death was not in the movie. It's only in the extended version. And it's a pretty gnarly, blood-curdling scream. So Christopher Lee he's had a fun life, or an interesting life, I should say. You know, he's been around. Ooh, well, you know, yeah, past tense. Sorry, Chris.
That's fine. But yeah, if you want to check out some mad Aussie flicks, you know, definitely have a look at that documentary. I was trying to find it. Fucking put some notes down. I'm gonna have to edit this, mate.
No, it's all right. When you talked to me about you said about Australian horror films, and I'm nowhere near as plugged into like the underbelly of cinema like this guy is, but there's a film from 2009, I want to say 2009 or 10, called The Loved Ones. If you want a nice little, you know, modern-ish Australian horror, you know, that's not like some, you know, video nasty from the 70s or 80s, and you want something a bit more, you know, contemporary, definitely check that out. It's fun. It's creepy girl whilst the dude out to prom. He says no, bad things happen. That's all I'll say about that one. And I do believe I can't remember the guy's name, but he was in a more recent Australian horror movie that got quite a lot of traction, the alligator one, Crawl.
All right. Yeah, I haven't seen that.
I think he's in that one. If it's not, it's another alligator movie. There's been a few of those in the last few years. That one was really hyped up, and I was a little bit disappointed by that. They described it as Jaws with alligators or crocodiles. I'm not sure which one's which. You know, but you know, like owls, alligators and crocodiles are real people too, so I should probably know that. But yeah, The Loved Ones, go check that out. Go check out the documentary. You know, broaden your horizons. You know, we might not be getting any new movies for a while, everyone. So, you know, maybe use that time to get out of your comfort zone and shit yourself a little bit. Who knows? You might like it.
Fucking
Anything else on that?
No, not really. I mean, yeah, I was going to mention the fact that obviously I'm talking about not quite Hollywood. There's a lot of older stuff, but yeah, I mean, you basically touched on it. But this Beaten to Death, Sam Curtin is the director who's directed a few other features.
Yeah, he's got a promising name from what I'm hearing. There's some chit chat, so you know, watch out for this dude. If this does well, and it seems like this is broken through. To be honest, I think the reason this trailer and everything is broken more into the mainstream is because there's strikes going on and there's not as much news about other stuff, which I think is good. It's good that other things are going to get more like pushed to the forefront, and we're going to challenge people, you know, both, you know, ethically and, you know, just with their taste in the kind of like content that people are consuming. So I think we're going to see a resurgence of, you know, much more like smaller independent films, like much akin to what we got in the 90s, in like late 80s, early 90s, which was because of VHS, and because VHS was so popular, people weren't going to the movies as much. So then we kind of started getting all these weird smaller movies, you know. So I think we're going to kind of see something like that again moving forward.
Yeah, like it's basically streaming now is, you know, the equivalent to that.
It's the equivalent of like the VHS, exactly. Yeah. So, but less profitable. So, you know, got to figure out what you're going to do there, guys. You know, but pay the fucking people. Moving on. Are we moving on?
Yeah, I was just gonna throw out those titles.
Hit them real
Curtin,
quick.
the Slaughterhouse Killer from 2020, and Blood Hunt from 2017. So I'm gonna check those out. Yeah, there's a lot of Aussie films out there that, you know, don't get much shine, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd be interested to dip into that a bit more.
Yeah, maybe we'll maybe when this movie comes out, maybe we'll go and check more of these other things out, and you know, we'll talk about some of these movies a bit more specifically.
I'll have a little peep behind Sam's curtain. Sorry.
There we go. That wasn't sexual sounding at all. Anyway, should we get into our main topic?
I guess we should, because we're like almost an hour in.
We're almost an hour in, and we're getting to our main topic. So we don't want to give you whiplash, but we're going all the way back to blockbusters, commercial, superhero, classic fare. Okay, we're talking Blue Beetle. Now, this is a fun thing here. This movie came out, I think, about 10 days ago now, or just over a week or so. So I think we're probably going to just go spoilers. I think for our last couple of reviews, we went a little bit more vague, but this has been out for a little while now. So, and I don't think this is going to make much more money than it already has, unfortunately, which is not a lot. It's the lowest grossing DC movie of the year, which is
right. What are the numbers?
Definitely not good. I mean, it made like 25 million like opening weekend, I think. Let me pull that budget up real quick.
Yeah.
So this cost like 100 million to make, which is considerably less than a lot of other movies of this ilk would cost. However, that is because this was originally going to be a HBO Max exclusive movie. And then they decided late in the game that they had confidence in it. We're going to put it on the big screen. And of course, that decision was made before the last like 2 or 3 DC movies completely ate shit. And those were movies that had big stars, pre-established, you know, franchises like Shazam and Shazam 2. And then you had even The Rock in Black Adam couldn't really get that movie to pop as much as they would have wanted to. The Flash had a long, hard, bumpy road, and he's now infamously one of the biggest losses in Hollywood history. So wasn't looking good for old Blue Beetle here. You know, this is a new character. Well, not a new character, but this is a much lesser known character. There is basically no star power in this movie outside of Susan Sarandon and George Lopez, who are pretty well liked. We'll talk about them a little bit more coming up here. Starring, I looked up the pronunciation of this name, is Xolo Maridueña.
Yeah, I had to look that up.
Who a lot of people might know is the main kid from, well, he's not a kid anymore, but he was when it started, Cobra Kai, which started on YouTube and then kind of really built up traction over its 4-season run and became quite a beloved little series. I'm not really a Karate Kid guy, but that show definitely found its audience. This guy Xolo is very charismatic, very likable. Is that enough to get this movie where we want this movie to be? And yeah, it's not looking too promising. It's probably going to be on HBO Max where it was originally intended to go, like within a month, which I think is a shame. Okay, I'm gonna I'm going to lay the cards out a little bit up top. I don't think this movie is anything special. I don't think this is it's not breaking any new trends. It's not treading any new ground. But I really like this movie. I had a really good time with this. I thought this was in a world of like blowing up the universe or the multiverse and like, you know, the stakes just constantly, you know, getting amped up, and you've got to follow 20 other movies to understand what the fuck's going on. You know, I thought this was really refreshing to go back to basics. You know, this is just a cute origin story about a kid who gets powers. You know, he's got a fun supporting cast. I know. What are your opening thoughts going into this, George? Because you had no idea what to expect, right? You don't know this
I did not.
character. You don't really do the superhero stuff as much, which is more my area. If we had to delineate, you know, that's why we're the yin and the yang here of Hollywood. That's what we're here to do. We give you the full perspective as much as we can. So how did you feel going into this when I pressured you into going to see this movie, and how did you feel overall actually watching it?
Well, for a start, I didn't really feel pressured. I was just like, you know, yeah, are you going to check it out? You want to talk about it? Like, I thought about just leaving it up to you, but then I thought, yeah, I'll check it out. It's at the local, the cheap Century Cinema. Yeah, like you said, I had no preconceived notions. Yeah, I just went in, and I have to admit, like, as soon as I started to see like the chord industries or whatever, you know, super cop soldier thing, I was just like, RoboCop.
Very.
Like
I've
the
got that in
whole
my
like
notes.
ad for it, like
Yes.
I was just like, RoboCop.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I can't
And this
remember the
movie does
name.
a lot
I
of
wish I
that.
put a note of the name of the prototype that
Oh, is it called like the
the
Oxmos or the oh, I don't know. It's some,
you know
some generic,
the bad robot.
the bad robot, you know.
the Beatles main, you know.
Yeah, if you've seen
Competition.
RoboCop, if you've seen something like what was that movie a couple of years ago that was like the dude's got the computer chip in his neck, and he's going around killing people with Logan Marshall Green. You know the one? No? Fuck.
Fucking lost me. But
Oh, damn it.
yeah,
I'm gonna
anyway,
look that up. Carry on.
I just I was like, all right, so we've got, you know, a Latino upgrade. No, never even heard of it, man.
Okay, carry on.
Yeah, we've got a, you know, working class Latino family send their son off to college or university, comes back, everything's going to shit, you know. I don't know. This is I had to admit. I think I was trying to remember the last time I watched a superhero film in the cinema, and I believe it was Superman. Snob. I just, you know, it's just not really my bag, you know.
It's cool. No
But
judgment here on the Podwatch podcast.
yeah, that's it. I think that's part of the, you know, the fun back and forth is like you can inform me on stuff. For the most part, is Dean dishing out the news, and I'm here along with everyone else to
Just bring in the misery.
the info, mate.
Yeah, cool.
And react. But yeah, last one I saw was fucking Superman versus, you know, Batman versus Superman.
One could understand why you might not
DC
come
film.
back after that one.
Yeah,
but maybe we'll talk about that movie
wasn't
another
in a
time, because
rush.
that's a loaded gun.
But yeah, that was what, 2016.
It was 2016.
Jesus.
March 2016.
Wow, you got that date burnt in there, haven't you?
Yeah, for better or worse. Sorry,
yeah.
Zach, I love you, but we'll talk about it another time.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some, I don't know, it just seems like DC go for the fucking neck when it comes to like dark motivations. I mean, it's a pretty standard motivation, and it's like, what are his motivations? Oh, his family. Spoilers. Half his family get fucking killed. So what's a boy to do? But get
What's a boy to do?
Invested in revenge. I say that, like, let's get into the blue beetle itself and the symbiosis.
Yeah. So all right, let's go into this. Right. So we, like you say, it's the fun family environment. He's coming back from college, and then he's trying to find a job. The family is struggling. It's all pretty basic stuff, and all the plot points in this movie, and even down to like some of the specific shots and action beats in this movie, everything you can look at and you can be like, that's from RoboCop, that's from this. If you've seen a lot of superhero movies, which one of us has, you can sit there and you'd be like, oh, Black Panther, Shang-Chi, that's from Shazam, that's from and that sounds like a bad thing. I thought the familiarity was nice. Like I say, it's not pushing any new ground. Pretty light-hearted tone until we do meet the titular Scarab with the Blue Beetle here, and
oh yeah,
here's one of my main issues with this movie actually, because it was surprisingly horrifying. Like it attaches itself to his face, it throws him around, it's all black goo going up his neck, down his throat, drilling into his spine, all of this stuff. But this is a fairly family friendly movie, and all the family are all here, which I love that about this. It's not like secret identity, I've got to hide this. It's just like right up top, everyone's there, we're all part of this, we're all in this together because we're a family, right? Like Vin Diesel. And but they're not really reacting how I would imagine you would react to your son having like a black alien goo thing go down his throat and throw him across the room and smash your whole house up, which you can't even afford to upkeep anyway. And they're kind of just like just bumbling around. Like it still felt like they were in a kids movie and he was in like a borderline Cronenberg movie.
Oh, it's funny you say that. I was going to mention that the director, what's his name?
Angel Manuel Soto, I believe.
Yeah, apparently he described the transformation scene as David Cronenberg for kids. I mean, even a kid I could see getting freaked out by that. Like it was pretty gnarly. Like, yeah, continue.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of a tonal disjoint there, I thought, where and this goes on for I think probably about the first half of the movie, where it's like, because we're trying to keep this like a light-hearted family affair, I know I didn't really feel any stakes. I didn't feel like anyone was reacting to this stuff as intensely as they should. And again, you can't have it too overwhelming, right? For a kids movie, they say shit about 3,000 times. They're like, how can we make this edgy? We can't have an F-bomb, so we're just going to say shit every other sentence. That was fine. What I loved, I thought that the character design, if you know the character from the comics or any of the other mediums that he's appeared in, full disclosure, I've not really read any Blue Beetle stuff. I'm aware of him from some. He was in the Young Justice animated series. He's in the Injustice video game, and he's appeared in some of the crossovers here and there and stuff. So I'm vaguely familiar. I know the basics of the character. Is an alien scarab. He can do whatever he can think of, and the alien scarab is like a world-destroying weapon, which they mention is like one throwaway line, but we don't really get any history or any like context of like why is it here? How did it end up here? I mean, we see in the opening, it kind of just flies through, right?
Yeah.
I would have liked a little bit more context for like, what is it? And maybe they're saving that stuff for a sequel, which is probably not going to happen. I really wish movies would stop doing that.
Did you not see the post credit?
We get a post credits, but it sets up other stuff for a sequel, but we don't really. We're probably not going to get that either, and we didn't really set that up enough. We established that there is this other character who's not around anymore. The father, Ted Cord,
the original Blue Beetle,
the original Blue Beetle from the comics, and his daughter's now struggling. You know, you've got this classic power struggle within like a science tech company. You know, which is again that's Spider-Man. You know, that's Iron Man. It's half of these movies, right? I thought all the performances were great. I thought he is so charismatic. He's so likable. And even though the stakes weren't really there for me, I liked him enough that I just wanted to see, you know, I wanted him to like figure this out and get through this. And hopefully with his family intact, he doesn't, you know, some of them, there's some loss here, which actually this brings me to probably one of the highlights of this film, and I reckon you'll agree, is George Lopez as the uncle.
Oh yeah, Uncle Rudy, mate.
Uncle Rudy, conspiracy theorist, paranoid lunatic, got the craziest fucking mullet, rat tail hair thing going on. So as soon as we introduce this family, I'm like, this is a superhero origin. We've got an uncle, we've got a dad, we've got a sister, we've got a grandma. Which it's like it's a ticking countdown. Like which one's the Uncle Ben, right? Which one's gonna die? And as we go through it, I'm like, I don't think anyone's gonna. I don't think this is gonna be that kind of movie. And then as soon as they started giving the dad some lines later on, because he doesn't really do much, it more focuses on the uncle and the sister relationships. The dad kind of has a bit more of a back seat, and then he starts dropping some like, you know, wholesome, heartfelt dialogue. Like, oh, there it goes. He's a goner. Sorry, I see that coming.
Right. The when he starts talking about his purpose and
it's like, oh shit, you shouldn't have fucking opened your mouth, Dad. Like you just fucking signed your own death warrant. Don't give life advice to a superhero. You will be the Uncle Ben. Just let them figure it out. Right. But I liked him. I thought, you know, I did get a little bit choked up. I thought the sister was like typical, like just quippy sidekick character. But then when we got into that second half, and shit started getting real, she really fucking delivered. I don't know if she stood out to you.
You mean after like where she gets the power glove?
When she gets the power glove and the dad dies, and like she really like, that actor is like 110% nailing it. Like I really felt her as a 3-dimensional character. Speaking 3-dimensional, I say the effects were pretty good in this movie for a low budget movie, but that CGI city, man, every time they cut to the landscape of the city with all the fake like shiny tech buildings,
there was so much going on. Yeah,
that was a bit much. Yeah,
a bit of an eyesore.
Couldn't deal with that.
I did make a note of that because it was like Palmyra City, which of course is. Well, I had a quick look. There's fictionalized as being a city and a tech hub in like Texas, right? But it's akin to, you know, Metropolis and
DC like to do that. They like their fictional cities.
Yeah.
I actually have a thought on that as well. This is a complete tangent, and I won't go down this road. But Earth in the DC universe must be slightly bigger than regular Earth because there's all these extra places in it, right?
All right.
You've got Gotham City, you've got Metropolis, you've got fucking Themyscira, and none of these places are on the real map. And they still have the other like 50 states as well. So like the continents, the landmass must be a little bit bigger. It's just interesting to think about.
Everything's bigger.
everything's
in
bigger in the
Texas.
DC universe.
And even bigger in DC Universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had just a couple of notes just on like the cosmic, like when you see he meets his father in the, I guess it's the, I don't want to say purgatory. He's like passing over when he's
Yeah, he's
supposedly
in like
supposed to die. That's what
Latino heaven or whatever it is.
I just,
I mean,
yeah.
he's dead, so it's probably not ideal, but it's a nice moment. Carry on. Don't let
But
me
yeah,
ruin
no,
it for anyone.
like the cosmic setting and the ethereal, like almost the afterlife.
Yeah, which is a scene from like Black Panther, by the way, and probably like a million other films as well. But go on.
Of course. But yeah, I know it's done well. It's, yeah, there's no other word to really describe it. It's cosmic and otherworldly, and it puts you in that space. And yeah, it was visually striking, but it's, again, like with all these films, it's very much cut and paste. And like you say, with the stakes, like that was the highest stakes. It felt more personal and more, about the family rather than the world at large.
Yeah,
You know what I
because
mean? Like,
the actual villains, which we can segue into if you want, we got
oh
Susan Sarandon here,
yeah,
and is she just basically Doctor Evil? Because
pretty
she's
much female
very
version.
just like generic, like I'm taking over the business and I'm going to mass produce super soldiers
Mm.
uh, and have big lasers. Literally, they're in a helicopter and she's literally like, fire the big cannon, and it's just like, what a waste. She's there for a fucking paycheck. The other
Blade.
dude, the henchman guy, I
Oh
thought
yeah.
he was pretty lame for the first chunk of it.
Well, he's
And
like the
they,
first thing you see, right? His weathered
yeah,
face. I
oh
put
yeah, for
down because
sure.
you
And I'm
don't
just,
really catch his name. I think it's Conrad Carapax.
yeah, that's right. I'm assuming
The actor's
Carapax is the villain.
Raoul.
Yeah, he's from the comics,
Yeah, the
right?
actor's
And
name.
he's pretty cut and paste, like you say. And it's just like, oh, we've just got this like muscly, scarred mercenary dude.
Mm-hmm.
And but when they got to the end of his story, I was really into it, and I was just like, man, I wish they could have brought a bit more of that into the first half. I would have been tracking him more as a character arc as opposed to just like an obstacle and a plot device. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but the stuff with like the locket and the family and everything, they foreshadow it like 5 minutes before they need to pay it off, right?
Yeah, it was pretty
It was like, oh,
like
here's a family,
hodgepodged in there.
here's a flashback. Now he's going to turn and have some emotion. I thought if they would have just sprinkled a little bit more of that throughout the movie, then we could have had, not like, it wouldn't have been like Heath Ledger's Joker, but I think it would have definitely been a more substantial, part of the movie, as far as like the emotionality and the plot and everything
Yeah.
goes. And because otherwise it's just a big mean version of the main hero, which is what every superhero movie has to do. They have to have the same powers. It has to be a little bit bigger. He's probably got red instead of blue. You know, it's always
Yeah.
like the good guy's got blue lasers, the bad guy's got red lasers kind of situation.
Yeah.
And that's fine because you expect that. I did think though the action itself was pretty well put together. I thought
Oh,
it did a
definitely.
really good job of like showing a good mix of like what his suit could do, what his power set was. He was doing swords, he's doing beams, he's flying, he's got wings. And I thought the effects held up pretty well for all of that, which they should, because there's none of this in the first half of the movie. I think it took a little bit too long to get there, and I just felt like they're just saving the budget because they've only got a limited amount. So I did feel the strain a little bit, in that regard. But when the action was happening, even if it was like a very derivative of other things, like he even whips out a Buster Sword from Final Fantasy VII at one point in this movie. Like I don't know if you played Final Fantasy VII. It's very clearly supposed to be the Buster
Not
Sword. He's like
much.
doing the same pose over the shoulder. It's the same. Which you would say, oh well, he's just doing what he knows, right? That kid doesn't fucking know Final Fantasy. It's like he wasn't even born when Final Fantasy VII came out. Like they just did that because they know that the people watching it would get the reference, right? And probably the director is probably our age or a little bit older, and probably and he has said this in interviews. He did confirm it is supposed to be the Buster Sword from Final Fantasy VII. And like that's just you living out your thing. If that was a real kid from like today and they had those powers, they're going to be making like, I don't know, like Fortnite guns, or doing TikTok dances and like flossing or whatever, like So, but that's fine. It was still.
Did you catch the other weapon? It was pitched. What was it? The Zorg fucking cannon thing that was from Fifth Element.
Oh yeah. The crazy Gary Oldman gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of that, and again, I mean,
it's just referential.
It's referential, and it was a little bit of a stretch as far as like for those characters to be referencing those things. But I get that they wanted the references to be a bit more universal to like just like comic and sci-fi, pop culture stuff. So I forgive all of that for the most part.
That was another point that I wanted to give out. Obviously, you said you haven't read any of the stuff.
No,
but
I did. I actually started reading some after the movie. I've read like 2 issues of the 2006 run. It's okay. It's fairly similar tonally, but go on.
No, I was just curious about the symbiotic host and how much that's drawn from the source material, like how much interaction there is, because obviously there's a bit of back and forth, and it's unpredictable. Like he can't really determine exactly what it does.
Because I liked how it just wants to murder everyone, and he has to keep fighting it to like get it to not kill, and and it's not just like a steadfast like this is what it is and that's how it is. Like it eventually like it bends over to his way of thinking, right?
Well, yeah. Well, you said that it wants to kill, but then it literally says, "No, we don't kill people," even though it's already just fucked up.
Yeah,
so many fucking.
It might be a bit late, all right. You ain't bringing any of those fucking goons back to life, Scarab Man. But you
Or a scarab lady. It's a lady's voice, isn't it?
Well, he's a man with a scarab. Okay, gender's a spectrum. All right.
Had a name for the voice, right? It was like Haraku.
Yes, Habib.
Fucking hell. We've done our research here.
Prince Ali Ababa. I don't know.
But I thought it funny. I just thought as soon as it was like, we do not kill people, I was like, no, we just leave that to fucking Nana. Because she's just fucking shit up. We haven't even touched on that yet, have we?
No. If I thought I would hate it, right? When they're like, oh, we're gonna bring the whole family along for like the whole movie, for like the whole like mission. On paper, I would have hated that. But I was just like, you know what? This is like it fits in the tone of the movie. And that you know what, this tone of this movie very much was like Spy Kids. This was like superhero Spy Kids, right? Instead of like you find your parents' spy gear, you find an alien weapon, and it very much was like and eventually you've got the whole family at the end, and they've all got a part to play. And cliche as it might be, I can't help it, an old lady with a big machine gun is just always funny.
Yeah.
And I've seen it in so many things,
Comedic relief.
It always gets me. So I give that a pass. And it was fairly consistent with the tone throughout the whole thing.
Well, that's another thing we've not really touched on like the I guess social commentary on Hispanic, culture and
That stuff was hard, man. When
yeah,
they
well,
when all the guys show up and they're like all the in the suits of armor and the guns, and they're like taking the family
yeah,
out of their house
smoke
and putting them
grenade
on the
and
floor. Fuck, I really felt that. And
yeah, that
I'm
was
white
pretty rough.
and I felt it.
Yeah,
And you should feel it because I thought that stuff was played
it's pretty real.
it was played very real. And again, that's all like in the second half of the movie. And I just feel like it just really ramps up to all that stuff. Again, I could have maybe a little bit more of that stuff sprinkled in the beginning because, like I say, nobody was taking anything seriously. It's like, what are you? I'm an alien destroyer. I'm a world destroying alien weapon of mass destruction or whatever. And they're just like, oh, okay. It's like nobody stops to really question anything. So when all that stuff does hit, it like kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
But it is
that's
what
another
it
thing.
is.
Yeah, with the Nan character though, it was like almost like leads you led to believe that maybe she was I don't know, a fucking Mexican or
Some sort of
Hispanic, like
freedom fighter, or,
revolutionary, like
some sort of
back
guerrilla
in the day.
fucking warrior.
But that's another thing. I don't know if you caught the. I fucking made a note of the mother's name, the actress.
Right.
Oh man, I'm gonna butcher
And they're
this
all pretty good,
pronunciation.
by the way. They're all selling the emotions. When it came to it, I just would have liked more of that throughout.
Yeah.
But then maybe it would have made the tone feel a little bit too drab and too dire. I don't know. But the balance was just a little bit, not quite all the way there for me.
Well, yeah, that was the note I was gonna make. Obviously, when she's holding that fucking Gatling gun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she like smirks, and I thought, just reminded me of Arnie in Predator. And then because I didn't catch it at all. I was looking at the cast like last night. The mother, Jaime's mother is, I can't fucking pronounce her name.
That's
Elpidia Carrillo. She was the female character in the team Predator. I wouldn't have caught that at all.
Really?
I did not recognize her at all.
What,
because
the
she's
original?
made up. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's
Anna,
her. The lady they find in the jungle.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Mental, right?
You learn something new every day. In fact, if you listen to the Pop Boys podcast every week, you'll learn new things all the time.
You'll learn new pointless information about actors and
dropping trivia for your friends.
Yeah.
We help you look good. All right. And you don't need a Gatling gun or an alien weapon of mass destruction to do it, just with your words and your knowledge, son. That's what we give you.
Right? Knowledge of actors and names that you can't pronounce.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, man, like I did enjoy. I'm, like I said before, I'm not the superhero guy. I'm not. It's not really my bag. And if you want, you could pick apart things like you say, tonal shifts and whatnot, and these. But it's like, it is what it is at the end of the day. It's high octane action, family fun, and it delivered on all those fronts. Like,
it was just very back heavy on the emotion and the action. I just would have liked a little bit more. There's literally a part in this movie where there's like they're gearing up for a big car chase, and then they just cut to them like getting home, and they're just like, "Oh, that was a fucking big car chase." And I'm like, really? There's been no action in this movie for like. And again, I love my dramas. I love to get introspective. I'm not just a fucking meathead, right? But just from like a structural standpoint, it's like you could have had a bit more. You could have had one action set piece in that front half. And again, it just felt very glaring to me that it was like, well, we better fucking save the money because we've only got 100 million, whereas most of these other movies, like of this kind would, you know, at least like 150, 170, probably more. Luckily, they didn't spend that much for them because, you know, it's not going to make that money back. But I do think that the word of mouth and the reviews have generally been pretty positive, and maybe this will do really well with kids on streaming and that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, overall, I really enjoyed this. Like I say, it had shades of RoboCop, Spider-Man, Aladdin. There's elements of The Mask in here, which I love. You know what this felt like? And this is the final thought. This felt like a really high budget, like Power Rangers. And I mean that in a good way. Like, because I grew up with the Power Rangers and the Kamen Rider and that kind of, you know, the Saban, you know, stuff from the 90s. And this just felt like a really high-end version of that, but also, you know, like a low-end version of like a big superhero, you know, like an Avengers or something. And yeah, I thought it was refreshing. It was just all about the family, and yeah, I definitely recommend to go and see this. Which, if you haven't, you've just you don't, you know, you've just heard too much. We told you.
You probably missed your chance, to be honest. By the time it's probably going to be in and out, right? I don't know. I haven't looked to see if it's on next week or whatever, but
probably not.
No,
I'd be surprised.
Yeah, I have to say, I had a little like humanist moment when it gets to the point where you know, the Nana's like, you know, now's the time to fight, and then it's like, you know, everything's done, it's said and done, and she's like, now we cry, and then they had the little group huddle crying moment.
I love that. I love that. When they brought the love interest Jenny Cord, they bring and they offer the extension to her. Like, no, you can. I know you were like, because we really talked about her. She didn't get loads of dialogue, but you could really see it on her. Like, she really felt like the heaviness of the consequences of, like, she's brought this on this family, like, and she really did just want to help, but she's like, well, you know, they don't, what if they say never trust the cord or whatever, and they keep doing that bit. And but yeah, I felt the weight of that on her shoulders. And then when they brought her in at the end, yeah, it was really cathartic, and I thought that was a good payoff.
Yeah. Well, can I just say, like, finishing my thought there, when that happened, I have to admit, I did a soulless, like, typical fucking, I don't know, whatever, metalhead, like, whatever, a bit of an eye roll, all right? I had a little bit of an eye roll moment, because I was just like, you know, slagging her the whole time, like, oh, I fucking, you know, like you say, like, you know, never trust the cord. They had that switch. Obviously, you know, they've seen she's lost a lot as well, and whatever. They invite her back, invite her in on the hug, and I was just like, I had a quick, complete, like, change your heart, because I literally, like, saw, you know, some woman 10 seats down the row ahead, like, crying, and then I had that, you know, that moment of realization that, you know, there's people here that may well have just lost a loved one or a family member. You know, it's hitting home. You know, I've lost a few people this year, and I was just like, you know, you can't be a dick. You can't, you know, everything's relatable at the end of the day. You can, no, that's it. You shouldn't judge. You shouldn't, you know, everything's relatable at the end of the day. And it's, you know, lowest common denominator when it comes to things like this. Like I say, like, motivation in films, like death of family and whatnot. But yeah, it's all relatable experiences at the end of the day that, you know, play on human emotion.
It's a bit fluffy and hokey.
Yeah, but that's what it's.
But it's important to them, and I felt that come through. And this movie, what I referenced earlier. This movie just had sincerity, which a lot of the Marvel stuff just doesn't do, because
Definitely.
they it's so easy now. It's such a crutch for these movies to make fun of themselves at how ridiculous it is. Oh, they fly. Oh, wow. Oh, didn't see that coming. Oh, I can't believe you just did that, kind of thing. And this movie does it a little bit, but generally it doesn't really have that like kind of fake postmodern cynicism that a lot of movies, not just superhero movies, but a lot of movies lean into. And it's fluffy, it was hokey, but it was in the realm of what they established, and it was true to itself, and
Yeah.
it's a good time. Again, we don't have a rating system here, but what would you say, George, if you had to rate this to finish up now?
I'd give it 3 scarabs out of 5.
3 out of 5 scarabs.
3 out of
That's
5
fair. Yeah.
scarabs. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I'd give it a 3.5, 3.5
Mm-hmm.
scarabs, maybe a
Right.
4, because it was. I think this movie was exactly what it wanted to be, and whether or not that was anything that's gonna like change your life, it's not. But
Yeah.
it was a good time. I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad you saw it, and I'm glad you didn't hate it, because I really thought this conversation was going to go a completely different way. You sort of
Oh
talk about
yeah.
bringing different perspectives. I thought I was like sending you to your fucking death, mate. When I fucking
I almost thought about playing devil's advocate and just completely like ripping it, but like it's too easy to do that at the end of the day. And
yeah.
I
No, because
want to be
much like the
honest and
movie, yeah, we're sincere here at the Pop Roach
exactly,
podcast for the most
much like
part,
the DC universe. And saying that, like that's as an outsider or like just someone that's not grown up totally invested in the DC or Marvel, comic book
Mm-hmm.
universe, and I've definitely not tracked half the films, as you know. It's pretty
Yeah.
obvious, but I would say like out of the books that I have read and characters that I've been drawn to, like as a kid, I was always much more into like Batman than
Yeah. Yeah.
Spider-Man, and I feel like those characters that are a bit more relatable and, like you say,
Mm-hmm.
sincere. Obviously, there's a lot there with Marvel and Spider-Man. Any character has
I
its.
definitely relate to Blue Beetle a hell of a lot more than I relate to Bruce Wayne. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, they're both
So
DC characters, right?
yeah,
But I'm saying, like, in contrast, like Marvel to in
yeah,
the cinematic universe, like I don't know, it seems to be a bit more sincerity, a bit more grounded in reality, I guess.
yeah.
If
I
you
do think this
say it's
one,
all,
yeah, I think because a lot of people I think will avoid this. They'll be like, oh, what's this like D-list? They've run out of like Spider-Mans and Iron Man. Blue Beetle, what the fuck is that? I do
yeah,
think this. So I think the people who aren't into comic book stuff are probably going to avoid this, and I do think this one plays better to people who haven't watched all of the other comic book stuff. So
yeah.
I think
Case
that
in
kind of,
point, like,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I think that
yeah,
works against it, and hopefully it'll find a fan base and an audience on
audience.
streaming, or maybe if they bring this character into other movies, future DC movies down the line, maybe like you have like a DC team up movie and now he can just be one of the gang, and we get to see him play that way, and then maybe then people will go back and check this out or something. But yeah, no, that's our Blue Beetle review, everyone.
Yep.
Yeah, we liked it.
We
Thumbs
liked
up
it.
from the Pop Roast podcast there, because we matter. You all matter. And so, speaking of things that matter, we're wrapping this up now. We've gone over, but
Definitely.
that's fine. I think this is good.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell people what you've been up to, George? Anything you wanna
Oh
plug or
man,
promote or talk about before we get out of here?
I go on. I say it's been a busy week, and I don't know. If you want to talk about some personal experiences, I had played a gig last night that was like, it it was Metal for Mind, which was a charity event for the Mind, organization,
That's
which
really
is all
cool.
about mental health, which is a poignant, very important topic, really.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, like I had to be honest, it was possibly like the most nightmarish experience, like gig experience I've ever had. Like
Did it
guitar
challenge your own
wise,
mental health? Is that what you're
oh, it
saying?
did very much.
That's how they get you. What happened?
So
Tell
I got
Papadine
this.
about it.
It comes full circle. Like we're talking Hispanic families. I have a Mexican Fender Stratocaster, right?
Okay.
And I
Good link.
decided to change the stock single coil pickups. Which, if you know anything about guitars, you have to know that these single coils are quite hot, you should say, and they're quite noisy.
Yeah,
Especially
rambunctious little things.
if you're playing new metal covers at high gain. And
Did you
I
break
didn't.
stuff?
Oh, I almost broke my fucking guitar, mate. By the end of that set, I was like, fucking just. Well, not even by the end of it. We were doing like a little line check before, and I was just like, first off, I wasn't told the stage setup. I didn't have a fucking clue of what was going on. We're in a place called Southminster, which is in the Essex countryside, like South Essex, and a place called Wibbler's Brewery, which was, it was just in a field, middle of fucking nowhere, Essex countryside, little prefab stage, open air. Had no idea. Open air. What happens in open air? Wind, noise. Guitar picked up every bit of fucking noise. Oh man, so much
It's like in
fucking noise.
Spinal Tap where they're at the airbase and his wireless thing, it picks up the radio.
Literally what I thought.
No, that's so good.
So yeah, literally like did a little line check and I was just like, wah, wah, fucking like so much noise. I was just like, what the fuck? So I'm trying to like quickly turn the gain like right down on my amp. I got like a Kemper profiler amp, all digital, which normally you can. Previously, my other guitars have got active pickups or whatever. Like you can control the noise gate and you can just you can eliminate all that shit. Not this time. Not this time. Nah, it was just a fuckload of noise. And obviously, I'm very much in my own head, and like to me, it was the worst thing. After the first song, there was applause. Our buddy Josh was doing vocals. He was, moving. He was keeping the energy going. But I know for a fact, any guitarists in that crowd were just like looking at me like, "What the fuck's going on?" Like, I had users afterwards just being like, "Man, I could see you having a bit of trouble there," and I was just like, "Do you think?"
Yeah. I mean, look on the bright side though. There's the musicians might notice it more, but also they understand it more as well. So it sounds like it wasn't too much of a negative, and obviously you're going to carry that with you for a little while now. And
definitely.
you'll be damn sure you check those pickups next time. But
I just won't play any shows. I'm just going to put it out there. If you're going to play fucking metal or anything which requires a lot of distortion or gain, like probably don't do it with single coils. That's my advice. But
yeah,
I had
baby.
Had the token like post like gig or set chat with one of the opening band who were also playing covers and stuff, and it was like the typical music nerd conversation where you're just like talking about stage setup and in-ear monitoring and things of that nature, and it was nice, at the end of the day, like, all issues aside, it was a charity event. It was nice. It was kind of funny to just see like families about where people are just, swearing and playing metal music, which is, not
That's always a
your
weird
typical.
juxtaposition.
Oh, it
Yeah.
is. I've done another one. Like I did one at Valley Farm like years ago, which is like a
Yeah.
local like holiday park, and it's just like these two things don't normally go together, but it's cool to see that
Yeah,
happen and
because
everyone
like you
get up.
say, you're in your head about it and you're thinking of it from like the worst cynical point of view, but then you
Hmm.
look at it from the outside, or just this is great, just different people, different walks, different things coming together, for music, mental health, because we're all here, man. We're all here. We might not all understand single pickups or double coil fucking humbuckers or whatever, but we all understand the basics. At least we should, right? So,
Yeah.
and it's nice if you can, that could have been somebody's gateway, man. So, and they
Oh,
don't
that's it.
know. They don't know any better. They didn't know your guitar was fucked. They'll it's fine.
Yeah.
Nobody.
That's
I have things like that where I still think there's there's like certain songs that I played in covers like in bands and stuff like years ago, and they remind me like they give me like flashbacks where I'm like, oh man, I remember I played that song that one night and my guitar was just like slightly out of tune, and it's
mhm.
every time I hear that song, all I do is cringe, and it's ruined the song for me. But I'm like, you have just got to remind yourself that you're the only one that remembers. Nobody cares. Let's be honest. At a
Yeah.
gig these days, they're all on their fucking phones anyway. They didn't know. I'm sure some people did love you and appreciated all the wonderful artists that performed that night. But also, let's be realistic. Life moves at a million miles an hour. There's a
Yeah.
million
No
things
one's
to
gonna be
watch. There's a
thinking about
million
that
things to
today.
think about.
Exactly.
Keep it in context. At the end of the day, you did something. You put your that you cared about, and people turned up. I'm assuming it was a reasonable turnout.
Yeah, it wasn't like massive, but like I say, there was like some families there. There was some older heads. Luckily, because most of the stuff that we were playing was, targeted to older audiences of our age or above, really.
Oh fuck,
But
are we older audiences now?
I guess so.
Oh fuck.
But yeah, speaking of, you didn't actually. I didn't get the lowdown on the open mic that you performed
Yeah,
at.
so no metal for me, but I did do an open mic. I've been well out of the game for like since like pandemic, really, like a lot of people, and I wasn't exactly in the game then either. I was in the game of life, which ain't fun, but I do stuff sometimes, and yeah, this was fun. So I had no idea what to expect of this venue. New town, never been to this place before, had no idea what to expect. It was fairly middle class when I got there. There was
Hmm.
mostly older people. um There's the main guy there who was like obviously like the big cheese, right? He's got his like slick back, shoulder length, like hair. Um, he's got like a black satin shirt on. It's like 3 buttons undone, and he's got like the
I can
slightly
picture
flared
it.
jeans with the platform boots. You've probably seen this guy a million times.
This
He's
is just
obviously
screaming Cambridge to me.
yeah he's probably a student of the arts, maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago. He's there with his family, and he was the most important one because he got 2 sets. You don't
All
get
right.
2 sets, you get 1 set, but this guy had 2 sets, and he was playing the classics. He's doing Purple Rain, doing Paint It Black. um
Was this
all stuff.
acoustic?
Yeah, just him on acoustic
All
playing
right.
Purple Rain.
Fair
Wouldn't
enough.
think it would work, and it doesn't. But he played it well. He was doing his intricate guitar stuff. His vocals were absolutely. I don't want to say serviceable because that sounds like a dismissal. But he did what he was well rehearsed. He did all his stuff good. I'm like, oh man, I'm not that guy. right?
No.
And I'm certainly not the old couple playing Beatles and Beach Boys and like 50s, 60s,
It was a
like
couple.
pop rock. Yeah, there was a couple. Like
A duet.
so he was playing like a 12 string and she was just playing a regular acoustic guitar. He made the, I don't know if this is the best joke or the worst joke, but at one point for one song she switched out her guitar for a mandolin, which if anyone knows a mandolin, it's got 8 strings.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the guy says, he goes, if you're paying attention, we now have 20 strings here between us, and that takes a lot of plucking. I was like, that's the worst joke ever. The crowd loved
I
it.
just laughed.
They went wild.
Maybe not, man.
They loved it. I was like,
personal
what is
preference.
this? And my banter was just going down like a fucking lead balloon. I'm like, if that's the standard, what am I doing wrong here? I mean, I turn up, I look like me, I'm playing Offspring covers. There's probably maybe like 2 people in this like 35 to 40 people function room that probably even know the Offspring. And so it was a subdued applause for that one. So then I changed it up. I threw in an original song, one of the funny ones.
Which one?
The one about the mousetrap. And we're very wildlife friendly up here in Cambridge. People love their animals. They love their birds. So it's like, I'm gonna go close to the bone here and see if fuck it, I'm gonna get a reaction out of them. And I did have a couple of people come up to me after and say they liked that one. I did do a public disclaimer of no animals were harmed in the making of this song. Dead silence, nothing.
Oh, what?
Right.
Oh,
So
hush.
a plucking pun is, it gets everything, and I got nothing. So then I was just like, fuck this. I finished up with a Disney song, Under the Sea, and that's how we finished. And that went down. People loved that one. So I think I got them on board by the end of it. I talked to a bunch of them, and they seemed appreciative. I just don't think they knew what to expect really, and it probably didn't help that I shifted gears every song, just trying to feel out the
Keep them on their
reactions, right?
toes. Yeah.
But technically
That's
no
cool.
pickup problems, no sound issues, which is normally the stuff that trips me up because I'm a fucking idiot, right? I just plug in and I play. Any more nuance than that, I'm just like drowning. I don't know. I need help. You don't have to agree. That's fine. Yeah, no, it went well. I think they do it like once a month. I'm probably going to go back there. I want to get more integrated with like the arts community or
Your
whatever.
local scene.
The local scene. I'm gonna I've been invited to like maybe go and get involved in like some of the theatre stuff that they do, maybe I'll be like a backup singer in a panto or something. I don't know.
Oh, you can rip that, man.
I'd
Definitely.
absolutely rip that. So we'll see. If people care to hear about it, maybe we'll give little updates and we can track this fucking progression, which won't take a lot because it's pretty much going to be a flat line, much like the response to me. But maybe not. We'll see.
All right. We're here to talk about what we want to talk about anyway.
Yeah,
So
we'll sprinkle it in, and if people respond and they want to hear more about like our kind of our quirky British day-to-day lives or whatever, we are British, in case you didn't know. That's fine. He played at a place called the Wibbly or whatever it was. I mean,
Wibbler's Brewery.
The Wibbler's Brewery.
That was so funny, man. I had to say,
hear about the Wibblers? Go on.
Yeah, the headline band Beneath the Embers, local like metalcore band, but they've been touring. They're doing pretty well. Yeah, it was just so funny, like the vocalist just like she kept going, "Wibblers, are you still with me?" I'm like, "Wibblers."
I want to see every one of you fucking wibblers in a pit right now, motherfucker.
Oh yeah, that's what I failed to mention. There was no pit because it was all on fucking gravel. Like, and I don't mean like just like normal gravel, like the tiny, like, you know, like thousands of tiny little stone gravel, like, you know, a good few inches deep, like little sea of gravel.
I hate gravel.
Man,
what is the point? Who invented it? And why? There is no benefit.
The
It was
only
literally...
benefit I'd say is if you're paranoid and you want to know if people are on your fucking driveway, because there's no not hearing that when someone walks onto a gravel
fair
driveway
enough. But
like
what
that.
happened to the classic fucking baked bean tins hanging on strings or whatever? Do you know what I mean? You might as well just do that. Fucking gravel is just a fucking another landscape contractor who was just like, oh, well, I guess I run out of slabs here, just sprinkle some fucking crumbs in there. Like, anyway, you're not here to hear our thoughts. So maybe that's what people love. Maybe we divert into a landscape commentary channel. Who knows? We're open to anything. All right. So if you've got any thoughts on the topics that we talked about here, drop your comments in there. Again, if you want to hear us talk about anything next time, then tell us what you want to hear. Go follow us at Pop Roast Podcast on your Twitters, your X's, your Instagrams, your Facebooks. Your main one is right here on YouTube. Click that like, click that subscribe, click the little bell thing so you know when the video is coming. You can be the first one in line, everybody.
Who wouldn't want to be there? Who wouldn't want to be there?
Yeah, somebody's got to be the first one in line. Doesn't matter how soon they get there, how enthusiastic they are, there's always going to be that first one. In fact, talking of that, we got our first positive review this week.
Oh yeah.
Somebody that we know, but you know, we've got to start, the network's got to spread out from somewhere, right? And get this, right? 5-star review. They listened to the whole thing.
I think he did.
They said they listened to the whole thing. Now we don't fraternize with no fucking liars. So if you're out there, Henry, you're watching, you watch, we watch. Okay. Hopefully some more people watch, and we'll see you all next week. Anything else, George? Am I missing?
Yeah. I think we've gone a bit long, but yeah,
we've gone a little bit long.
If you've made it this far, mate.
This episode's going to be going up a little bit later than the last ones. You'll know that by the time you see this, if you're paying attention, because it will be later than the times that the last ones came out. But that's okay. We're working it out, and it's only going to get better. So see you next time.
Peace. Layers.
See ya.